Hi guys, WTM here. It's been a while since I've done an MMA video. I've been busy. So I decided to do some more, and especially since I find two upcoming title fights to be very intriguing. So here we go. MMA Rants and Raves, Cain Velasquez versus Fabricio Werdum for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Guys, let's talk about this fight. You know something? It seems like Cain Velasquez has figured out his opponents. I mean, if he faces a guy with really good striking, he can use his wrestling. If he faces a guy with really good wrestling, he can use his striking. And he can use a combination to set up both. And if he faces a guy with really good striking and good wrestling, then he can use his cardio to wear the guy out. And that's what it seems he's been doing. And he's a guy who's also exponentially improved, especially his striking. I mean, my goodness. I mean, this guy's striking has gotten really good. It seems like he's developed power. You know, earlier in his career, it didn't seem he hit as hard, but you saw his fight against Nogueira and Bigfoot Silva. You know, very dominating, quick knockouts. So, you know, very impressive. And two of his most impressive fights, of course, were against Junior Dos Santos, who seemed to be a guy who's just, you know, very, very difficult to fight. Obviously, the best striker in the heavyweight division, the best hands in the heavyweight division, and really good takedown defense. But you just saw how good Cain's wrestling is, the way he's able to use his Greco-Roman, wear the guy out, his cardio, and that's good enough to set up his striking, to make his striking a factor against Junior. So, you know, that's the deal with Cain Velasquez. It just seems that he's solved his opponents. However, he's facing a guy now who is unlike anything he's faced before. And his name is Fabricio Werdum. And if you look at his last fight, I mean, my goodness. I mean, I remember watching this guy when he was fighting in Pride. He is a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner. I mean, he's way above even black belts. That's how good this guy is. I mean, he even gets on the ground and motions to people to get on the ground with him. Even black belts wouldn't do that, especially against a guy like Travis Brown. I mean, who would want a Goliath heavyweight like that on top of you? And that's how confident he is. I mean, who would want to do that? Especially a heavyweight, all that weight on top of you, a guy who's a really good striker, has big power. So he is that good. And you know, one of the biggest dangers in jiu-jitsu for a jiu-jitsu guy is ground and pound. Ground and pound is known to be a way to neutralize a jiu-jitsu guy. But despite that, he is that confident because he's that good. So, I mean, he went from being a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner with adequate striking to elite striking. And I mean that. I mean, just look at his fight against Travis Brown. Travis Brown is a really good striker. Travis Brown had a 3-inch reach advantage on him, and also a leg reach advantage. Brown is 6'7", Fabricio Werdum is 6'4". And despite that, he dominated the striking exchange. Very impressive. I mean, you could just see. I mean, it was really, really impressive. I remember during the fight, he was, you know, throwing jabs and then following up with the right hand. And then when Brown responded, he was out of the way. So you see really good offense, you see really good defense. And when you see that in a fighter, you know that this guy knows how to strike. I mean, his leg kicks, they just looked really impressive. They were thrown with great technique. I mean, he's just evolved exponentially. I mean, he was never this good of a striker. I mean, and I could just see he was getting better and better over time. Even when he fought Alistair Overeem, he actually outstruck Overeem in that fight. So it just goes to show. I mean, Overeem's a former K1 champion. If he's able to outstrike a former K1 champion, I mean, this guy is that good. So his striking is elite right now. I would say he's the second best heavyweight striker behind Junior Dos Santos. I mean, that's how highly I think of his striking. I mean, you could just see it through his recent fights, and especially against Travis Brown. And it's not just the striking. I mean, he took Travis Brown down. That's never been done before. I mean, look what happened to guys who try to take him down in his past few fights. Look at the results. So that's how good his wrestling has gotten. So we know he's a really good wrestler now. So if you really think about it, I mean, he may very well be right now the most well-rounded heavyweight fighter. I mean, world-class jiu-jitsu. He may be the very best jiu-jitsu heavyweight in the world right now. So he's got the jiu-jitsu. He showed he's a really good wrestler, and he showed he's a really good striker. So if you think about it, what's going to happen in this fight? What is Cain's strategy going to be? Is he going to take this guy down? Is he going to put him up against the cage? You know, what if Werdum pulls guard? How well will Cain Velasquez do with Werdum's submission attempts? Keep in mind, this is a 5-round fight. There's time to work. This guy is that good. At some point, this fight may get to the ground. And what's going to happen? How will he fend off Werdum's submissions? I haven't seen Cain Velasquez on the ground for a lengthy enough period of time to see how well he would do to fend off submission attempts. I mean, he's dealing with the very best. So what is Cain's strategy? Is he going to stand with this guy? You saw, he fought Brown, who had a significant reach advantage. We're talking about arm reach and leg reach, because Brown is a good kickboxer too. And despite that disadvantage, he was able to dominate. But against Cain Velasquez, he actually has a similar reach and may have a leg reach advantage, because, you know, he's 6'4". Cain Velasquez is only 6'1". Cain Velasquez is not really a big heavyweight. Here's another thing about Werdum. Very good cardio. I mean, he had a large striking output in that fight. This is a heavyweight, a big heavyweight, 6'4", with 250 pounds. And he looked good in the 5th round. So, I mean, if you think about it, pretty good cardio. We know Cain Velasquez's cardio is amazing. But this guy has pretty good cardio too. So, I mean, if the fight goes into the championship rounds, I think, you know, Werdum should do pretty well, you know, depending on what goes on earlier in the fight. So I think stylistically it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup for Werdum. I think this fight, more than ever, once again can prove that styles make fights. So I'm going to go for the upset. I'm going to take Fabricio Werdum to win this fight. I would like to know what you guys think. Please leave your comments. Please like up this video. Please subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.